Welcome to AJA Lunchtime Live. Welcome to all of you sweet folks here with us live, and welcome to those of you who are watching the replay. Today, we're getting to know UK group Animal Rising, and we're going to pick co-director Rose Patterson's brain quite a bit on strategy, the strategy between their epic campaigns. So in case you don't know, this past month, Animal Rising released an incredible investigation. It's the largest investigation into animal farming in the history of the UK. And then some of you maybe remember last summer, their disruption at Britain's Grand National Horse Race, most famous horse race in the UK. And that made headlines around the world. And they have done so many more incredible actions that we're going to dig into today. So Rose, welcome. So great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited for this.
And just so you know, folks, Rose is also the actions coordinator at Animal Rising, besides being the co-director. A little bit of background on Rose, studied MSc in animal welfare science, ethics, and law. She was working for the World Animal Protection for a while. She joined Animal Rising in January 2020 and has worked on strategy for multiple campaigns. She's designed and coordinated dozens of actions and led large, complex project mobilizing hundreds of people. And we're going to talk all about that. But oh my God, you have a wealth of experience, and we all of us, animal advocates here are just so excited to hear some of the background stuff. So Rose, first of all, it might seem to a lot of folks that are sort of watching that this group Animal Rising just swept onto the animal rights scene this, last summer with the Grand National Horse Race disruption. But you folks have been around for quite a while. So can you give us a little bit of the history of Animal Rising, and then maybe bring us up to speed with like Animal Rising of today and sort of what the big goals of the organization are?
People may not realize Animal Rising started as Animal Rebellion, as a sister organization to Extinction Rebellion back in 2019. Extinction Rebellion came about. There was like a big shutdown, basically XR shut down central London for days, if not weeks, in April 2019. And I remember walking, all the bridges in central London were blocked, and saw thousands of people getting arrested, and it was really amazing and transformative. And I remember saying to my friend, like, one day someone's going to do this for the animals. I thought maybe like someone else, some 10 years away or something. And then a few months later, it was like Dan Kidby, Dora, and some others founded Animal Rebellion, and as a kind of response to the climate movement, not talking about one of the key causes of climate change, which we all know is just mad that the environmental movement and climate movement aren't talking about animal agriculture and its effects on the planet. And so that's the initial reason for Animal Rebellion forming, was to influence the climate movement and to get that message that we need a plant-based food system into the movement. And I think originally Animal Rebellion was only supposed to be a short-term campaign as well. It wasn't supposed to last this long. It was never, it's kind of grown and exploded over the last few years. But I guess the first few years of Animal Rebellion was really focused on that, getting the message about animal agriculture into the climate movement, kind of like forcing our way in. And at least in the UK, I think we've been successful in that, and we're seeing a lot of groups, including Extinction Rebellion, Greenpeace even, and lots of other major climate groups talking about the impact of animal agriculture on the planet, also promoting the message of the need for a plant-based food system as well. Obviously,
yes, Rose, I just saw a Greenpeace email the other day that was all about plant-based. I'm like, what is going on? This is amazing. So you've had it, great.
I don't know if we can take all the credit, but I think it's great to see the climate movement actually talking about this now, and I think it's becoming more normal. I still don't think it's enough. Like, that obviously the heavy focus is on fossil fuels most of the time, but more people are aware of the impacts of our diet on the planet. And so the first few years was very focused on that, and then we started kind of, as we were seeing progress being made there, we started shifting towards a more animal message. We always were like more climate focused, but we'd always talk about the animals, but it was more like 80% climate and maybe 20% animals, even though in our hearts most of us are like joined Animal Rebellion for the animals. And then now we're seeing a shift. Well, I guess with the current campaign, it's pretty much 100% animals, or like 95% animals. And that started when we decided to change our name to Animal Rising. We completely rebranded. It was a bit of a risk, the gamble, and I'm glad that we did that, because yeah, we were kind of moving away. We kind of became our own thing. We're totally separate from Extinction Rebellion, and we're also moving away from the climate message. And we also just wanted a more like positive name. Like a lot of the public kind of hear the word rebellion and they don't identify as like a rebel. And so we thought like Animal Rising is way more positive, and I guess we kind of have like risen up, like you said, kind of out of nowhere over the last couple of years. And yeah, so we kicked off with the disruption of the Grand National last year. And now, yeah, onto this investigation into RSPCA Assured scheme this year. So yeah, I'm going to talk about that.
I love it. And you know what? I just love the rebranding. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh yes, that is such a great name for you, for this group. And so it's so aspirational. And so is so is the work, the campaigns that you do. I want to, you've done a variety of campaigns that we really want to learn from today. But let's just start off with, actually, before we go any further, one of the cornerstones that I am seeing from Animal Rising is, well, first of all, you do nonviolent action, and it seems to me that you're really about creating this like national or global conversation, and the way I've heard it termed is to reinvent humanity's broken relationship with animals and nature. So is that like the pillar kind of there, or a couple of the pillars there?
Yeah, so I guess like, yeah, we actually have, people don't realize we actually have multiple campaigns under the Animal Rising kind of brand. So yeah, the Animal Rising kind of like main campaign under the name Animal Rising is, creating this national conversation. It's about creating a cultural shift, and yeah, trying to repair that relationship, that broken relationship we have with animals and nature. And so yeah, it's definitely like, yeah, mostly the direct action is like a tactic that we use, but yeah, most of our campaigns have revolved around some kind of direct action, but not always. We also use other tactics as well, but yeah, there's like this clear need for a cultural shift, and yeah, repairing that relationship with animals and getting the public to think about, yeah, like who do we want to be remembered as? Like I don't think we want to be remembered as this like society that abused animals. Like I think most people are animal lovers and think of themselves as that, and we're just trying to get people to connect with animals more. And then we have all these other campaigns. So there's like the cultural shift or national conversation side of things. Then we've got institutional change, and under that bracket are the plant-based universities campaign and the plant-based councils campaign. And then we have the stakeholders, so trying to shift stakeholders, like key stakeholders in the movement or in society, towards us as well, like building relationships. And the main campaign we have, or one of the campaigns, is Vegan Support the Farmers. So it's this unusual relationship between vegans and animal farmers, and we're trying to build bridges with animal farmers, which is really unusual, but it's needed because we need farmers, and we need farmers on our side. And then by targeting the RSPCA in the UK, they're one of the key stakeholders as well. So that kind of is comes under both of those kind of like brackets. Like it's both a stakeholder, but it's also has like direct action elements and this national conversation, cultural shift as well.
Yeah, and I'd love to explore a little bit more about how you bring that narrative into your very particular campaigns. But let's go to the first campaign first, and then we can dive into that. So the exposé you released this month, oh my God, you investigated 45 farms that had been certified RSPCA Assured. So give us a little rundown of the investigation and the campaign. For many people here, they won't necessarily know what RSPCA Assured actually is. So a little bit of a background on that, and why you decided to put all the resources into this.
Yeah, so I think the RSPCA and RSPCA Assured are quite unique to the UK. So RSPCA, for anyone that doesn't know, is the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. So they were formed, it's the 200th year anniversary this year, which is why it was like a perfect time to target the RSPCA and their Assured scheme. And yeah, 200 years ago, they were apparently the world's first animal charity or animal welfare organization, and they were pretty radical for the time as well. So they maybe they were like the Animal Rising of the 1800s. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, right.
No one else was talking about animals in that way and about how they needed to be protected. And yeah, there are stories of their members dying to protect cocks in a cockfight, and yeah, being awarded silver medals during the war because they were protecting horses and other animals that were used during the war. But then today we're seeing, yeah, they're doing pretty good things like dogs and cats. I mean, they're a huge charity, and yeah, they are doing good things. And but then we just see them as having lost their way when it comes to farm animals. And also I'll just say it's also like the RSPCA in the UK is like a British institution. You see RSPCA adverts on TV all the time. Like everyone's aware of them, even as a young child. It's like if you find a sick wild animal or something like a bird, you would call the RSPCA and ask what to do. Or if there are RSPCA vets and there are RSPCA charity shops on the high street. So it's just like, yeah, a very well-known animal charity. And you think of them as being like, yeah, the people that care about animals. And then they're actually the problem is them putting their stamp of approval on animal products and actually encouraging and endorsing animal farming, which is just so mad and hypocritical. And so yeah, they formed the RSPCA Assured scheme, which is a labeling scheme 30 years ago, and that was to improve welfare for farmed animals. And I think maybe it was set up with good intentions, and they genuinely wanted to create better welfare conditions. But yeah, we're no longer in the 80s. Like, yeah, this is 2024. Things haven't got much better in the last 30 years of farm animals. In fact, things got a lot worse. And yeah, they did have, before our campaign, they had meat recipes on their website. So they were promoting people to eat meat and other animal products. They had like, how many recipes? I think it was over 200 recipes I counted, and there were like 4 that were plant-based, but they were just like how to cook like asparagus or something. Like it was like a side, it wasn't even a main. And so it's just like, yeah, it's really hard to understand how this happened and what went wrong along the way. And they also go into schools promoting the RSPCA Assured animal products rather than promoting plant-based products and vegan diets and lifestyles. So there are so many things they could be doing. And yeah, it's just really backwards. And they talk about less but better, and they are only focusing on the better and like saying like, yeah, these meat products are better. If you're going to buy meat, buy these basically. But they don't focus on the less at all. They don't promote this reduction or like, yeah, the end of animal farming. So it's just, yeah, I'm just like, yeah, I think in the UK, animal activists have been shocked. Like I've been angry for like over a decade at the RSPCA, and I think a lot of people are feeling very passionate, and it's actually been great to be able to mobilize people to take part in this campaign in different ways. So yeah, those are the reasons, yeah, why it was important to target the RSPCA. And yeah, it's just, I guess the key things are like, they're the most trusted animal charity in the UK. They're endorsing animal agriculture, and they're actively misleading the public as well, because their adverts portray animals running around in fields. They have animals, chickens eating corn on the cobs in farms and stuff, and it's just like, this is not happening. Also turkeys like in the forest with like fairy lights above them, just like these like bizarre images. Wow. And yeah, just like absolute lies. Like it's honestly just lies. And so we were like, I think towards the end of last year, we knew that we were talking about RSPCA. I'm trying to remember, actually, I think a couple of years ago, we started talking about targeting the RSPCA Assured scheme, because, yeah, I guess this is also one of the biggest stakeholders in the UK as well. And if they change, then they're kind of leading the way for all these other animal organizations to also change. And yeah, I think, yeah, I can't remember exactly how the idea came about, but yeah, we knew we needed to target the RSPCA Assured scheme, and by doing investigations to legitimize any other, like it could be direct action or animal rescues. Animal rescues were a key part of this that we knew that we needed to do. And so, yeah, we knew that we had to get the evidence ourselves. But we've been seeing other animal groups for like, yeah, over a decade going onto their farms. They'll release an investigation on like maybe a few farms. The RSPCA might drop those farms from the scheme temporarily, often reinstating them quietly. And then they just carry on and they just say this is just a few bad apples or one bad apple. So
Always,
I
always.
agree. It's just, yeah, so easy for them to just like brush this aside. So we're like, okay, if we're going to do this, we've got to prove that it's not one bad apple. We've got to scale this up. And I think with all of our campaigns, we're always asking, how can we make this bigger? How can we scale it up? And I think that's something we're good at. We're good at being ambitious. I think we set ourselves ridiculously high targets, sometimes too crazy. But yeah, even if we don't hit those targets, we still like, yeah, we're still aiming high and we still achieve a lot. And our aim was it was actually to expose 30 farms, but yeah, in the end we managed 45. And this was in a short space of time. So we investigated all of these farms. Obviously we went to even more than 45 because you go back more than once or sometimes you can't get in. In total, there was almost 100 investigations in less than 4 months, which was, yeah, quite crazy. And I'd never done an investigation before this campaign, by the way. None of us had.
Wow.
And yeah, so basically, yeah, we exposed, we released this massive expose a few weeks ago. And yeah, the things that we found, I think the most shocking things were that the RSPCA Assured farms are basically factory farms. It says on the permits, they're intensive farms. And you can just see, you don't even need to look at the permit. You can see these are factory farms, like the horrendous conditions for animals. It's so sad. They're grossly misleading the public, as I've said. I mean, yeah, we found like there were like particular instances of like, yeah, serious, like severe animal suffering, like awful things. But yeah, just the average life, like the life of an average animal on these farms is just so sad. And the fact that the RSPCA are putting the stamp of approval on it is just mind-blowing. And yeah, I guess the other thing is the legal expert that reviewed the footage said this is essentially fraud, which is a really strong statement from them. And so, yeah, now we're kind of waiting for the RSPCA to respond properly. They're doing their own investigation into this. And yeah, so that's what we're kind of waiting on that at the moment, but we're still putting pressure on them. This is a sustained campaign. So it's a pressure campaign. We're not gonna stop until we win, basically, because we think this is winnable. And the key demand is that we're asking them to drop the scheme completely. It's failing animals. And we're asking them to lead the way to start telling the truth about animal farming and actually promote what the kind of world that we want to be living in, and that's a world without animal agriculture. And yeah, they've got to be bold. Like, the hell are they doing?
Yeah, like bring them back to their roots, kind of thing.
Exactly.
So, Rose, a couple of things as you're speaking, came up for me. We don't have an RSPCA assured scheme in Canada, but we actually did. BCSPCA did sort of egg certifications, egg farm certifications, though. Thank goodness they're no longer doing that. But I think everybody here can relate to just, all the SPCAs, all the humane societies that promote meat or have, barbecue meat at their fundraisers, things like that. It's just such a disconnect. And so, I am wondering sort of what the reaction has been in Britain by the general public, by other, sort of animal organizations, and yeah, and I think it was Vicky that was asking what the RSPCA's reaction to your campaign. Now doesn't sound like you've done an official reaction, but maybe you've heard through the grapevine or anything like that. Like, how have people been reacting?
Yeah, so I guess, yeah, starting with the public, well, I guess it's maybe starting with the press. I mean, to be honest, it's been really disappointing with the response from the press. I mean, it's a struggle right now because we've got an election, national election next week. And yeah, so this has just been all over the news the whole time, and obviously competing with wars going on all over the world as well. It was just like, yeah, it's been really tough to break through with the press. And I mean, we know it's a massive story, and the months leading up to it, we actually had an exclusive with the Sunday Times, which is one of the biggest newspapers in the UK, and Sky News as well. And they did say if nothing else, if no other news stories came up, it would have made front page news. But in the end, there were so many other news stories that came up that day that we ended up getting pushed back to like page 11, which was just
Oh no.
so soul destroying, honestly. I think maybe to our base and like to supporters, it didn't I think it still looks successful, but honestly, like internally, it was like a sad day, honestly, because the amount of work that went into it. But
Absolutely. You know,
that's
Rose, and I just have to say, like, we're having the same troubles in Canada with media. And and we've been wondering if it is size, and here you're doing 45 and they're still not picking up on it. What the hell?
I know. I mean, some of it's luck as well. It's just, yeah, I mean, we've had in like the dairy campaign in the same week, we had a new prime minister and the Queen died. So we had to stop the campaign because of these things.
Oh
We're
my
like
God.
particularly bad at choosing dates to release campaigns.
Mm.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean, that was, yeah, like, yeah, the journalist did tell us, I believe him, that it would have made front page news if it had been a different day, maybe. But anyway, maybe
It
in
has
another.
all the elements, right? Going after this major institution, with such a big investigation. It baffles my mind how it wasn't front page news.
Yeah. Oh, and
Mm.
also one of the key things I forgot to mention is the president of the RSPCA, Chris Packham. So in the UK, he's a BBC presenter. He's like a national treasure. He's like, he's vegan and animal rights activist. So he's the president of the RSPCA. He came out and said, this is, I think he said it's utterly, oh my God, I can't remember the word he used now. But anyway, he was shocked by the footage that we sent him, and he basically called for the scheme to be suspended at least. And yeah, he's not supporting it. And
Nice.
yeah, totally on side. So that was really powerful to have the president of the RSPCA saying this is wrong.
Yeah, that's amazing. Amazing. Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw that and I was like, wow, that is incredible.
but
That you got him.
and then there's, yeah, I guess like in general, the public messages I've got from the public have been, yeah, generally shocked. Like a lot of people are just shocked by, a lot of people just have no idea. And I don't blame the public there are people, I don't know, so many friends and family, or when you're doing outreach on the street, so many people saying, oh, but I buy high welfare animal products. And like, obviously I feel like annoyed with people, but also like, I'm like, actually, who can blame them? Because like, if they haven't actually researched this themselves, they're being fed all this propaganda from the industry and even from animal charities that they trust. So yeah, it's just like, yeah, the public, I think, that have seen the investigations are really shocked. We've had some really high quality press, actually. George Monbiot, I don't know if he's well known
Yes.
in the
Yes,
US.
absolutely. He's big name here and he did a really great article.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure like if he's known outside the UK, but he's a journalist for the Guardian newspaper, which is really respected. And yeah, he reached out to us because he was already planning on writing about the RSPCA Assured scheme because it's the 200th year anniversary. And then he highlighted our investigations, and he wrote a really powerful article. So we're actually seeing really like high quality press around this because it is like we've done this serious investigation,
Yeah.
and then. Yeah, so I think like generally responses from the public have been positive, and then from within the movement, I think that's actually surprised me the most. Like we're always talking about creating this national conversation, but actually this like internal conversation within the animal movement is so needed around welfareism and being effective because yeah, there are too many groups focusing on incremental like welfare changes, and yeah, don't believe that this is working. It's people have been doing this for decades and we're getting nowhere, and we need to, like, as Animal Rising, we're always talking about transformational change. We need to be more like, it's a kind of defeatist attitude that people are always going to eat meat, and we need to make the lives of these animals a little bit better because people are always going to eat meat. Like, I don't believe that at all. Like, one day we're going to see a vegan world, and we're going to see, I mean, yeah, with that attitude, we're never going to see a vegan world. But yeah, we've got to be more positive. Like, we can make transformational change. And yeah, so that's what we're always pushing for. And I think that conversation is really needed in the movement. I'm not talking about animal rights groups. It's more, yeah, groups that are still focused on, these small steps and, yeah, welfare, increasing welfare. And yeah, we're seeing, like, when we actually asked for 100%, like with the Grand National last year, we said horse racing needs to end. You actually get these little welfare changes along the way anyway. Like, they improve the welfare of the horses for this year's Grand National, which is like, obviously we're not advocating that. But if the Grand National is going to carry on for a bit longer, obviously that's a good thing. But yeah, we're never going to say that's enough. So yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things to me is these conversations that are happening at the moment in veterinary spaces as well. We've been speaking to a lot of vets, went to a conference with lots of vets, and also people from within the industry, and because there are just not enough people working directly with animals, like vets and yeah, vet nurses as well. Just like they need to be coming out and speaking the truth about what's happening on farms, because they're the ones actually seeing the animals suffering there as well. So yeah, we're having really good conversations with those people. So yeah, I think, yeah, there are lots of positives. The press side of things were disappointing, but we're actually seeing things, more surprising things that we didn't expect. So I hope I answered all the questions, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I mean, there are also very sort of different, you know, there's the welfare asks that are, you know, a couple more inches, and then there are welfare asks like ban certain practices. There are different, you know, there are different levels, but you're right, I think, in the way that there seems to be more talk around that, and we've lost a little bit of the, you know, of the abolition kind of narrative, and it's really important for there to be some really strong groups advocating on that and influencing the rest of the movement, which I think you absolutely are. And so, you know, one of the other, you know, big recent disruptions you did, well, it was a year ago, was disrupting Britain's most famous horse race, the Grand National. And for that one, you got unbelievable media, and that's probably why this one seemed a little bit, you know, disappointing, because from what I remember Ben saying, like you were front page news for many days in a row after that disruption. So tell us a little bit about the Grand National, why you decided to target it, and yeah, and a little bit about the strategy behind that.
Yeah, yeah, we actually got on the front page before we even did the disruption. I'll explain how we did that in a bit. But yeah, so the Grand National, yeah, it's like one of the biggest horse races, definitely the biggest horse race in the UK, if not the world. Like I guess it's similar to like Kentucky Derby or Derby. But I think it's, yeah, I can't remember the way around. I think it's like 300 million pounds on bets every year and 600 million people watching it worldwide, with like the latest numbers. Those were the numbers last year. And yeah, there's no other event like that in the UK that has an animal focus. Like that's, yeah, definitely the biggest event in the UK that involves animals. And I guess like different countries and different cultures have maybe similar things. I'm thinking of things like bullfighting. And yeah, I don't think there's anything like this in other countries, like for horse racing anyway. It's just huge in the UK. And yeah, so yeah, we knew that we were going to kind of rebrand, and we knew we wanted to do something that would just kind of explode and guarantee a lot of press. And yeah, so we thought, we identified the Grand National, and obviously it's horse racing. And before this, we'd never really, obviously we're against horse racing and any industries that exploit animals, but horse racing isn't our focus. It's where most animals are suffering, and that's the food industry. But yeah, so we decided to target the Grand National, but still try to get the message out there about animal agriculture and yeah, where most animals are suffering, which actually was really difficult, because obviously everyone wanted to talk about horse racing, which is fine anyway, because that industry should end. But yeah, so it was basically, yeah, we just knew that it was going to make headlines by targeting that. And yeah, I guess choosing targets that affect as many people as possible are the most effective ones. And in the UK, yeah, the Grand National affects a lot of people. It's everyone's watching it on TVs. It's in the pubs, like all the pubs TVs have like the Grand National that day. And yeah, so it's just a massive event. And yeah, we decided to we knew we wanted to disrupt it. And we always knew that it's pretty much impossible to actually completely disrupt the whole event and like stop it happening full stop. Like we knew that was impossible. We knew that we could like maybe disrupt for a short period of time, and then they would just carry on. The actual initial action design was for, yeah, like 100 people so to calmly walk onto the track wearing the pink Animal Rising t-shirts, holding hands, and maybe sitting down on the track. And they would have to like maybe glue onto each other or something, or lock onto each other, and then just like wait to be dragged off or removed and things. And yeah, in reality, it was very different, because yeah, the 2 weeks beforehand, so we were fairly open with the way that we mobilized. So in general, we we are quite open. Like our default is to not have any security, because increasing security is just, yeah, it shuts people out of the movement basically. And there are so many disadvantages to increasing security. So our default is no security, and then we add levels of security where absolutely necessary, as long as it's like not going to jeopardize our actions.
So Rose, let me just sort of go back in case the folks aren't keeping up with this. So in for a lot of actions, bigger actions, the sort of way of thinking is that you keep it, secret, you keep it close, only really trusted people, nothing public, all that sort of thing. And instead, what Animal Rising is saying is we actually want anybody to be able to join our actions. We want it to be, so you actually like announce that this is happening. So like there's got to be real challenges to that as well. But the advantages are it's open to everybody. Are there other advantages of announcing it ahead of time?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, there are levels of announcing it as well. So yeah, we didn't like, trying to remember, did we have them over? We did like have online Zoom calls where we were like fairly open, and these were, trying to remember, I think we sent it out to our mailing list and things. But yeah, each campaign is slightly different depending on what we're doing. But yeah, we find that with adding levels of security, like trying to be kind of secret squirrel or keeping people out. I mean, it's not nice in any part of your life if you're trying to keep secrets from people. People feel excluded. And yeah, I guess like we're trying to bring as many people in as possible. We're trying to have, I think we have a really positive culture within Animal Rising because we avoid doing these kind of things at all. And so yeah, all the pros are that, the positives are that, more people get involved. It doesn't seem like so, I don't know, like how to describe, like, I don't want to say like kind of
like illegal. It doesn't make it seem so illegal and so like illicit kind of thing. It's like a
exactly. And also like I'm just like, I know that I'm doing the right thing. Like there's absolutely nothing wrong with what I'm doing, and I'm very open about it. And I know that that's not for everyone, and there are consequences for those things as well, in terms of police repression. But yeah, the positives are just that we attract the right people as well, by being very open. And it's fine if you don't want to be like that. If you prefer to do more kind of covert things, that's fine. But this isn't the right organization for you. And there is a place in the movement for those things as well. I'm not saying our way is the only way or the right way. It's just that, we're trying to build a very positive, open culture. And obviously, the disadvantages are that you potentially could get people like journalists most likely infiltrating, which has happened once. So far we don't, as far as I know, we haven't had any police infiltrators. Oh, by the way, if there's any like journalists or police on this call, we always say like hi and like welcome as well. Whenever we do like a training or something, we're just like welcome everyone. And yeah, it's just building trust as well. I think it took me about 7 years of being in the animal movement before anyone like trusted me to invite me along to like rescue animals or come and do anything. I was doing outreach for 7 years, and honestly, I think that was mostly like I could have been doing so much more like that time, but I didn't know how to get in because there was this culture of keeping people out and not trusting people and assuming bad faith or assuming that people could potentially be the police. And it was just like, this is so unhealthy. So now like my default is I'm going to trust anyone that comes to any of our trainings or any of our calls. And yeah, if there are any consequent, like if there's a police or journalist in there, like that's absolutely fine. And I'm fine with that. But like I said, it's not for everyone. So yeah, we're just like, we need to build more trust in the movement because I think, we have some unhealthy habits and we're trying to dismantle those. So I think the positives far outweigh the negatives. And so we were pretty open with the Grand National, and we had these we would like call people up that had applied to join us and wanted to take action. They just sign like a form on our website. Then we call them up and say, hey, we're going to disrupt the Grand National. Would you like to come to a non-violence training? Because that's something everyone has to go through, a non-violence training before taking action. And we also explained a bit about the action on the phone as well. And one of those people was actually a journalist from the Daily Mail, which is a kind of right-wing newspaper in the UK. And she came to my training. Sabrina, that was the journalist, and we've actually built a bit of a relationship with her since. But yeah, she came along to our training, and the next day, or maybe a week later, that was on the front page of the Daily Mail, and it was and something like Animal Rising are going to disrupt the Grand National race. So yeah, that's how we made it to the front page without actually doing anything. And at first we were like, oh my God, like this could be really bad. But then we were like, this actually, we can turn this into a positive. This is amazing. Now everyone knows, we can mobilize more people. And then we got like interviews. We were going on TV, going on the radio, talking about problems with the Grand National and other animal issues, without even actually doing anything, just saying we're going to do something. So it's quite funny.
Wow, interesting. So cool. Okay, so so basically the advantage you had was it was an event where, they didn't know there were, thousands of people coming in, so they couldn't stop you from coming in. They probably increased the security by tons. But you still managed to, like, people still were able to run onto the track, right?
Yeah, that day it was absolute mayhem. So yeah, they brought police helicopters, they had police on quad bikes, like going around the outside of the premises. They had they must have had hundreds of police officers and like police vans driving around trying to find, we had everyone arriving in like minibuses. So we had about 118 people all arriving in small groups in minibuses, and yeah, all of the minibuses except one managed to get there to the side of the the venue, and then everyone just kind of ran at the fences, and they obviously stopped quite a lot of people, but people tried their hardest, and it just seeing people with so much passion like trying to like climb those fences, and like members of the public were getting involved trying to stop them, and the footage looked, I mean, yeah, it was mad. And then people did actually get over the fence and running onto the track, which was still amazing. And they did have to like pause. They had to, like, while all this was happening, they did have to stop the race. I think it was about 15 minutes from what I remember. So yeah, like we always knew it wasn't going to stop completely, but we caused some disruption to the race, and yeah, it was pretty epic. It wasn't like completely as planned, but it also made the police look terrible because they were like really violent, like really, really violent towards the Animal Rising members.
Yeah, so it really probably elicited some sympathy for the activists, which is a really important piece. And the other thing that you just mentioned a little bit ago is really important, especially for this action, because it's not such a natural fit, is to weave in the whole problem of animal agriculture. And so I saw a lot of clips where you managed to do that. So what was the sort of strategy around that, like about how to get those talking points in?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't on the spokes team last year for that, but I think so when people are going out doing interviews, everyone goes through training as well. We have a really great team working on that. And I think to us it's quite easy to link horse racing, and it's like the obvious exploitation and abuse of animals, and link that with the exploitation and abuse of other animals, particularly farm animals. And I think, yeah, in the press, like sometimes that was easy, like an easy segue, but often they just wanted to talk about, horse racing, what's wrong with horse racing. A lot of people, the argument was often like, oh, but this is part of our culture and blah, blah, blah. And then talking about welfare improvements. And so it was at times difficult, but yeah, there were ways to, just like take it from horse racing to other animal issues. But I think it was quite
I think people that are getting interviewed, we often forget that we are in the driver's seat. I mean, they can't control what's coming out of our mouth. They can redirect, but you have pockets of time to be able to get your message in. So with this action, 118 people were arrested. I guess everybody that actually got through. And I know that you've spoken, as a group about using mass arrests as a tactic. So can you talk a little bit about that, the advantages, the disadvantages, how powerful that is? And do you feel like you're finding more people willing to put their freedom on the line for this cause than ever before?
Yeah, I think I think it can be really, really inspiring to people to see masses of people making such a big sacrifice. Like, yeah, especially like with the Grand National, I mean, it's obviously not inspiring to everyone, and we often have to think about, yeah, how we're perceived by the public, because what's inspiring to me is not necessarily inspiring to someone's grandma from up north of England or something. But yeah, when I think it can be really inspiring seeing so many people just really fighting for a cause and sacrificing and, yeah, getting arrested and things. That's one way to sacrifice yourself. There's obviously lots of other ways to do that as well. Arrest definitely isn't the only way. And I guess arrest, yeah, to us, we've never actually, arrests haven't been the end goal. We've never said we want to get like 200 people arrested. It's more like we want to get 200 people on the tracks to disrupt something, and arrest is a kind of consequence of that. So obviously we have to factor that in as well, and that's often a consequence for our actions. But yeah, so I think it's definitely become, it can be really powerful and inspiring, but it's also, particularly with in the UK, police repression, it's just become, yeah, I think it's with like so many people doing protests like this, like using direct action over the last 5 years or so. I think, yeah, just the consequences are becoming much more serious, maybe because we're also doing more risky actions as well. Like the first couple of years, I think I got away with that. I got arrested so many times and no convictions for about 2 years. And now I've got three convictions and 20 arrests, and I've got 3 Crown Court trials coming up over the next couple of years. And now it's all catching up to us. And so, yeah, as like the core team of Animal Rising, a lot of us are like seeing serious, more serious consequences, and it definitely takes its toll. Like just having to prepare for a trial, and obviously the stress of a trial, and not knowing what's going to happen, and also supporting the number of people that we've got that have been arrested for Animal Rising over the last 5 years. Yeah, it's hundreds of people we're trying to support. We've got an amazing support team. I think we do actually do generally like a pretty good job at supporting all of those people all the way through to court. Like, yeah, that's taken a heavy toll on us. Like, yeah, so this year, that's why we decided to kind of do less actions, like less arrestable, like risky actions. So we've done animal rescues with this campaign from RSPCA Assured farms. We haven't actually had any arrests for those yet. No, the police haven't seemed to notice. Yeah, we're just doing less of these risky actions and less of the mass, just like to have a bit of a breather. And it doesn't mean that we won't do that in the future, but I think it's getting much harder. And yeah, people, I think it's just like it scares people when they hear that, I don't know, it can do one of two things. When you see or hear someone going to prison for rescuing animals or for doing whatever it was for an action, for some people that's inspiring and they're willing to do the same. But for other people, it's too much and they aren't able to or don't want to do that, and that's totally fine as well. So yeah, I think for most people don't want to end up in prison. I know I don't, and yeah, it is like it's scary and stressful. So honestly, I think it's getting harder to get people to do these riskier actions.
Yeah, because as you become more successful, industry gets more powerful. Sorry, not more powerful. Industry gets more ferocious. Pressure is, on politicians and police to do more, harsh sentences, arrests and sentences. So yeah, that can be very complicated. And I'm sure, having, hundreds of people that you're trying to support. So when you say you're trying to support them, how does that support look? What does that support look like?
Yeah, so yeah, for anyone, I mean, some cases just get dropped, but some people may, I guess, like immediately after, or I guess it starts before an action, actually, when we start doing the training. We support people and give people like trainings in what happens when you get arrested, what court might be like, and what the potential consequences. Like I think we've got better. We've learned a lot over the last couple of years, because I think at the beginning we didn't prepare people well enough for sometimes it's like 3 or 4 years later you're going to trial, and what's your life going to look like then? Like, are you going to have kids? Are you going to live in a different country? Are you going to have a different job? And people are often not thinking about that when they take action. So I think we're getting much better at preparing people in the first place. So that's like the first step. And then obviously during the action, there are ways that we need to make sure everyone's like safe and supported. And if they get arrested, we have like police station support to meet them afterwards. that was a nightmare actually for the Grand National, having 118 people arrested, being taken to like police stations all over the place, and then having to get people to go out and support them, making sure they can get home because they were from all over the country. So we have a really great network of people to support directly after arrest. And then it goes on to, when they go to trial, it's preparing people for court. If it's like a really big, scary trial, we organize like retreat weekends where the trial group will go away together for a weekend to kind of, just like build bonds with each other. Cause like it's really important that everyone is like doing this as a team. It's not about you as an individual. You're representing whatever you do in court, you're representing everyone in your team, and the movement, you're representing the whole movement in court as well. And so just supporting people on being able to do this, and also like financially helping people if people are really struggling. There are things that we can do to help financially, and there's emotional support occasionally if people really need therapy or something. We've supplied and paid for people to do therapy if that's needed, but that's like extreme cases. So amazing. I think we've learned a lot over the last couple of years. We definitely haven't always been perfect at this, but it's getting better.
Yeah, one of the reasons, I wanted to reach out to you because Animal Rising is just generally awesome, but your co-director, Ben Newman, and I did a panel at the AVA Summit together about burnout. And so, I was really impressed that Animal Rising has, such a strong culture around supporting your people and being able to really have programs and structures in place for that. So that's really meaningful. I this is a special passion for me. So I'm really glad to hear that, and I really wanted to dig more into that. Karen is asking, how are you managing with fundraising for court costs? Do you have good pro bono lawyers? How does that work?
So in the UK, I don't know if it's the same in Canada or the US, but if you earn under a certain amount of money, you get free legal aid. So I can't remember what the threshold is now, but so a lot of people do qualify for free legal aid. So that's basically, you'd only have to pay for, you might have court costs or a fine to pay or whatever at the end. But so far our fines haven't been very big. If you don't qualify for legal aid, you can we haven't really had any solicitors or lawyers that are like completely pro bono. But for example, like I no longer qualify for legal aid, so I'm going to be self-representing, which I think doesn't happen that much. I've heard in the US it doesn't happen that often for people to self-represent. So that means I won't have a lawyer in court representing me. I'll just be there on my own. But it actually means that you can, because often when you're a solicitor or the barrister in the UK is talking on your behalf, they're often not speaking or saying the things that you actually want to say. So I'm excited to go to court and self-represent and be able to say exactly what I want to say. And there have been times when we fundraise for people that are facing trial. Actually, I think it's okay for me to say this, but tomorrow we're sending out an email announcing that we've basically been charged for the beagle rescues. So last week, there were 18 of us involved in this trial. So we rescued beagle puppies. We actually did it twice, but it's only one of the times that we're all being charged for. And we're getting charged with burglary for rescuing these beagle puppies from an animal testing breeding facility called NBR Acres. I think a lot of people know Marshall. You have that in the US too. We'll be sending out an email asking for donations to help with fundraising for that, because that is going to probably cost people a lot of money.
Yeah, and it is the sort of weight of, okay, how much money do these arrests take out of the movement? And so how do you sort of, Lori had a great question. How do you measure the success of a disruption? What are your KPIs around that? Like what is it that knowing that there are a lot of disadvantages, how do you make sure that the disruptions you're doing, or that you continue to do, are ones that are helping in the large picture kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I think we're often asking ourselves the same thing, and everyone should be asking themselves this, all organizations, like, yeah, is what we're doing effective? And I think what we're doing is social change, and it's quite hard to measure the impact of what we have. A lot of the impacts that we're going to make might not be seen until for like 10 years time or whatever, and we can't actually, it's sometimes hard to prove, or mostly is hard to prove that it's because of us. It's like getting the plant-based food system message into the climate movement. I think we had a big part to play, but it's actually really hard to prove that it was a lot of our work. And so, yeah, a lot of it is, it is difficult to measure. There are some things that we can measure. So we're, after the Grand National, or before and after the Grand National, we conducted a survey with Social Change Labs, and their results are published online. So yeah, we wanted to measure the impact that we have on like culture and people's attitudes towards animals in general, as well as like horse racing. But the main thing was just around animals, and also their opinion on disruptive action as well. And we kind of predicted that, because looking at other direct action groups like Just Stop Oil, who are very well known in the UK, and similar like to Extinction Rebellion as well. Kind of our thoughts were that we think when we do a disruptive action or something quite shocking, and there's like an initial maybe rage or anger from the public, and that's not surprising. But they'll also hear our message, and initially they might say, or like they might think, like they might not think too much about the message. They'll initially just feel angry that we've disrupted their favorite race, or that soup has been thrown on their favorite painting, or whatever it is. But then this feeling of anger kind of disappears over a period of time. But the message will like stick in people's heads, and we hope that their feelings towards animals will become more positive in the long run. And that's the results weren't super clear, but in the end, the results did show that over a long period of time, those feelings of anger did disappear, and there weren't more negative feelings towards animals after that. Because I know some people were worried that people are just going to take that anger out on animals or something and go eat more animals.
Like all of the trolls say online. Well, now that you posted that, I'm going to go eat an extra hamburger today. They don't do that. It's just that's their way of fighting back. So interesting. Well, and I'm and I think again we're all learning. I mean, this is such a new movement, right? We're all trying to figure out what works, and often it's a lot of things at once. It's a lot of different approaches and tactics at once. So I love that you're being really thoughtful about that. I know we're a couple of minutes over. Rose, do you just have a couple more minutes for us?
Oh yeah, absolutely fine.
Okay, this has been such an interesting conversation. One of the things that there's so many different actions you've done. I would love to dig into so many of them, but I think, you gave us some really great stuff to chew on. You also do a lot of work on food policy areas. And I'm just curious, so you do plant-based universities is one of your projects, plant-based councils, which I believe, deals on a municipal level, and then vegan support farmers. So why did you feel that it was so important for you as this, animal rights organization to get into food policy?
Yeah, so I think, plant-based universities came, I can't remember if universities or councils came first. I think maybe it was councils. Anyway, I guess we realized that direct action isn't the only way, and this cultural shift, or creating a national conversation, isn't the only way to make change. And we just decided to, it was towards the beginning, I think around 2020, 2021, we actually were talking about, I think maybe the schools campaign came first. We were trying to do a kind of plant-based school campaign, but actually we found it was very difficult to make change in schools, and found that at a council level, you can have more influence there. And this is everyone there's I can't remember how many councils there are in the UK. There's a lot, maybe around 400. So basically people have their local council. You can go to local council meetings, and we're actually pushing or trying to pass motions for 100% plant-based catering in council events, and also asking for things further than that, yeah, like any events or meetings or yeah, anything that the council has, different councils seem to have control over different things. It's not every school, like some schools are like kind of like dictated by the council, but not all schools. And it's quite confusing in the UK anyway. So the councils have, yeah, different powers in different places. So we're trying to get them to promote plant-based eating in different institutions, and then the same in universities, which is a really, it's super successful. We're seeing motions being passed in, we've had 12 universities pass motions that are voted for by students for 100% plant-based catering. And we only started that a couple of years ago. So we've got 80 campaigns run by students. So this is all student-led. We train up students in universities. Then they start the campaign in their uni, pass a motion. Like they seem to be, like some of them have not been passed, but have almost. And then we've had 12 that have completely passed. So this is like meat-eating students are voting for plant-based catering because people want plant-based food to be more accessible and more convenient. It's really inspiring to see. It's just like it's exploded, like it's just happening all over the country all the time. And so hopefully over the next academic year, we're going to see so many more universities going plant-based. And we've got some set up in Europe, other parts of Europe now, in the US as well, a couple of set up. So yeah, that's like really inspiring. So I think these campaigns also legitimize the other things that we do, like the more what people see as radical and direct actions, then we can also say, well, we're actually creating like, yeah, you can't always see the cultural shift that we're creating, but we've got these tangible things that we're seeing that we're doing. So yeah, I think that's so important, and it's working. It's inspiring.
It is incredibly important. I mean, over my years of working on investigations, for example, you put out an investigation, people are so, inspired to make a change, make a diet change. But it's still hard in this society to do that. I mean, it's for a lot of us that are vegan, we're like, it's actually not that hard. But for somebody who isn't exposed and everything. And so things like, having the options out there, things like having institutions that have default, vegan or thing, that's a huge support of the work that you're doing on this sort of animal liberation level. So I love that. Okay, last thing I want to ask you, what can we AJAers do to help, Animal Rising? We're not in the same country, so unfortunately we can't come out to your disruptions. But right now, I know that you have had a petition going for Bo, that poor calf. I know that the RSPCA campaign was very costly for you. So what can we do, donation wise, action wise? Give us something.
Yeah, I guess the thing we're trying to promote at the moment is the video that we created on the investigations. It's on our YouTube channel, and yeah, that was, I mean, yeah, just trying to share that to friends and family and members of the public would be amazing. Obviously, we've got the petition to drop the Assured scheme, and also, yeah, as always, like donating to help us being able to continue doing this. So yeah, we can't do this without people, yeah, contributing in some way. So yeah, or just sharing our social media posts. I know it's like hard things from other countries, but yeah, just sharing what we're doing would be really helpful. Thank you.
Amazing. Okay, well, Kirsten, I'm sure, is madly trying. Yeah, there we go. We've got the video to share, and also maybe at the Animal Rising, the donation page, if you can find that, Kirsten. You know what, Rose? One question that came up that was so good, and I really wanted to address it because it was Cheryl Simpson's, and I'm just asking because we're listening as Canadians. We've been slapped with all sorts of ag laws here in Canada. So being able to, walk onto a farm the way you did in the RSPCA investigations, I mean, we could be facing $250,000 fine. You don't have any of that kind of thing going on in the UK?
So generally, trespass. So yeah, it's just trespass.
It's just trespass. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so mad that you would get fines like that. That's shocking. So at the moment, we're lucky we don't have anything like that.
Yeah.
But generally, it's a civil offence. So if you're just trespassing and you get caught by a farmer or the police show up and ask you to leave, and you just leave, then there shouldn't be a reason for you to be arrested. Although we have had one of the companies, basically the biggest company that we targeted, they emailed us saying, yeah, they were threatening to sue me and someone else for trespassing. which I don't know if they can do. I'm not sure. I guess it's a civil thing, so maybe they can. But I'm just kind of like, our attitude to this kind of thing is bring it on because it'll get us more press. So,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, when it was regular trespass, it was a little less, scary. But it's a sign that in the U.S. and Canada, we have really threatened the animal ag industries. There's some draconian laws that have been put into place, and we just so you know, Rose, animal justice just struck down one of the worst ones in Ontario, which is our most populous province in the world. So still a long way. They're appealing, but but we're working on it because we'd love to be able to do one like you did. Okay, so let's turn this off a spotlight, Kirsten, so Rose can see everybody and maybe get ready to take everybody off mic. Rose, thank you so much. We so appreciate not only you being here today, but just the work, the sacrifice that you and all of your colleagues have done in this movement. It's super inspirational. I feel, personally, it's really given me a nice sort of, just a real light under my butt. And I'm seeing that for folks here, they've really enjoyed this. So thank you, Rose. AJers, can we give Rose a big AJA thank you?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Okay, everybody, thanks for being here. Have a wonderful rest of the week for the animals. Have a good one.